Hello and welcome back to the Manufacturing Culture Podcast. I'm your host, Jim Mayer, and today we're diving into an electrifying conversation that's all set to spark innovation across the manufacturing sector. But before we ignite today's dialogue, let me remind you to check us out at manufacturingculturepodcast.com. You can also connect with us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and now Snapchat, which is weird, for your daily dose of inspiring stories, tips, and the latest in the world of manufacturing. Now, let's gear up for a journey into the heart of industry innovation and talent transformation. Our special guest is none other than Ann Wyatt, the dynamo behind Ann Wyatt Recruiting and the visionary host of the weekly show Workforce 4.0. Since 2015, Ann and her team have been at the forefront of revolutionizing talent acquisition for manufacturing clients, proving that the right people aren't just found, they're meticulously sourced, targeted, and qualified to fit the unique fabric of each company. Ann's passion doesn't stop at just filling positions. She's a fervent advocate for nurturing a creative workforce, enhancing technical and interpersonal skills for the future, and continuously improving company culture to keep pace with Industry 4.0 advancements. With Workforce 4.0, Ann brings together manufacturing executives from all industries to showcase how technology and meaningful work are reshaping the sector, highlighting the talent gap, success stories, and the exciting transition of workforce into new roles. From her early days as a workforce development specialist in Kentucky to leading her own agency in Madison, Alabama, Ann's journey is a testament to her dedication to not just meeting, but exceeding the evolving needs of the manufacturing sector. Today, she's here to share her insights on bridging the talent gap, building stronger company cultures, and the power of community in fostering industry growth. So, buckle up as we dive into a conversation with Ann Wyatt, a true pioneer in reimagining how manufacturing companies and talent can thrive together in an increasingly decentralized market. Let's get started. Ann Wyatt, welcome to the Manufacturing Culture Podcast. How are you doing today?
Jim Mayer, it is so good to be here. Thank you so much for having me. This has been amazing. That intro, though, is epic. I appreciate that.
I love it. Hey, you're welcome to it. I'll send you in copy form. I'll send you the video. One of my guests last year, before I did video or anything, he actually took it and used his intro as his phone ringer because he loved it. He felt so hyped up. I love this part of what I do on the podcast, Ann, and I'm glad you enjoyed your intro.
That was sweet.
And
Thank you.
oh, you're one of my favorite people in the industry. I mean, how
Aw.
could I not write something nice about you, for crying out loud? And you are an absolute powerhouse in this industry, right? You're everywhere. I see you at events. I see you on LinkedIn. I see you on YouTube. You're everywhere, but you haven't always been everywhere. Tell us your story. How did Ann Wyatt get to where she is today?
It's a great question. No, I think I th- I don't know. No, I haven't. That's an interesting way to put it. So, um,
Everybody's got a journey, Ann. Everybody starts somewhere. Everybody ends somewhere, right? And you're literally in media res, right? That this is the middle of your story right now. So tell us about your journey so far.
yeah. So, no, I was born in Campbellsville, Kentucky.
Oh,
I don't
okay. I
know.
have no idea where Campbellsville is.
It's in Kentucky.
Oh,
And
that was a dead giveaway.
Central
Campbellsville, Kentucky. That was a dead giveaway. Yeah.
it's in central Kentucky, but yeah, I was born and raised in Campbellsville, Kentucky, and always had such a deep passion for community growth and development, and I 100% blame it on my parents because they were no, they were amazing people. They both worked for government and they had this
Interesting.
mentality of just absolute this servant driven heart um,
Okay.
for the community and everyone around them. And I just grew up watching that, with them both being strong role models. And I don't know, it's just a core part of my personality, I guess.
I
So
love it.
when I left Campbellsville, I went to Western Kentucky University.
Okay.
And I graduated there in 2010. And of course, that was a huge that was not a great time to be in the job market, if
Yeah.
you'll recall. And
Yes.
Bowling Green is very driven by the automotive industry.
Okay.
You can
Is that where
imagine.
you went to school? Bowling Green?
Bowling Green, Kentucky.
Wow. Okay.
They make Corvettes in Bowling Green.
I knew that there was a plant somewhere in Kentucky. I did not know it was Bowling Green, but Bowling Green has always been a university that was very interesting to me, right? Because Bowling Green in Kentucky, it's just there's something about just the juxtaposition of those three words that really blew my mind.
Well, it's Western Kentucky University. But
Oh,
so the big thing about WKU is our mascot. People love our mascot
what's
at
your
Western
mascot?
Kentucky University. It's Big Red, and he is a
Okay.
hilltopper.
What is a hilltopper?
That's what I think a lot of people want to know. And and as an alum of Western Kentucky University, I'm still, Jim, I'm still to this day not entirely sure. But it's Big Red, and Western is a university, it's on a hill.
Okay. Hence the
So
hilltopper.
hence the hilltopper. But that was like a daily routine, is climbing the hill, because
Got
all
it.
of the dorms are at the bottom of the hill.
So
So
you're Sisyphus in every single day of your collegiate career. You're literally pushing a rock uphill every day.
exactly.
Okay. Well, I've never heard of any such thing, but that's amazing. I love it. All right. So I digress. I'm sorry to take you on a weird side route there.
That's what we're here for.
Continue.
Graduated from Western Kentucky University in 2010. It wasn't the best time to be in the jobs market, right?
Yeah.
Especially with the local economy being so dependent on automotive.
Sure.
So I found myself job searching as a broke college kid without internet. I found myself going to the Kentucky Career Center, what we used to call, the unemployment office.
Right.
And one day they needed somebody to work at their front desk. So I started my career working for, and I like to tell this story because both of my parents were government employees.
Right.
And I was like, when I graduated, I did what every good child does. I'm like, will you put in a good word for me somewhere? And they were older, so they had retired, and they were like,
oh,
we've done enough for you.
Our time here is done.
Time is over, but please become gainfully employed soon.
Yes.
So I worked my way up with the state of Kentucky.
Wow.
And I'm proud of it because I did it all by myself. And
I love it.
I had great leadership there. It wasn't like that, but yeah. But I left the state of Kentucky in 2015 to start a recruiting business.
Okay.
Because we had so many greenfield sites coming to the area. And I was kind of looking around, looking at all these new developments, and looking at the amount of people we had in the workforce realistically, and looking at the unemployment rate.
Sure.
And thinking, what we need. So I started recruiting in 2015. Awesome. Yeah. And from there, life is crazy. I moved to Alabama and just kind of kept going. Started doing stuff like this, started networking a lot on LinkedIn, and eventually started my own podcast, Workforce 4.0, because I'm still very, very passionate about workforce development.
Yeah.
And now we're here. So
yeah. That's
So
awesome.
really networking and telling my story and getting out there and connecting with other people that are passionate about the same things that I'm passionate that we're both passionate about,
Oh,
I think that's
absolutely.
why we get along so well. Yeah.
Oh, if I had somebody in this industry that I felt was like a little sister, and I don't know if you're older, people will look at this and say, "Oh yeah, he's older, right? The beard and all that, right?" If I had a little sister in this industry, it would be Ann Wyatt,
Oh.
and very fortunate to have met you in person earlier this year at IME West, right? And that was a blast. We got to raise a couple of glasses together. We've chatted keyboard warriored each other a couple of times, right? Chatting
Oh
on
yeah.
LinkedIn, and finally got chatting in person. And you and I really are very similar. We have very similar values. We have very similar views on company culture, on employee engagement, on onboarding, on manufacturing in general, right? And that is why you and I get along, right? So I love the energy. I love the passion. I love the experience that you bring to the table. Um, I want to touch on, you talked about starting in 2015. I believe, what industries does Ann Wyatt Recruiting focus on? Is it strictly manufacturing, and what size organizations do you typically work to help?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, I know, that is a good question because I don't care for it when recruiting agencies are are all over the place.
Yeah.
I like it that I have a very specific skill set and I'm familiar with a very specific handful of industries.
Yeah,
Um, because it makes it I feel like my quality of work is better, if that makes
absolutely.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I focus predominantly on metals, like
Okay.
rolling mills.
Yep.
So aluminum, steel. With that, because the skill sets are often the same with the programming languages and things like that.
Yeah.
Um, with pulp and paper. Did you know that?
No, I did not.
Yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
there's a lot of similarities with pulp and paper
Okay.
as there are with like aluminum and steel, like rolling mills.
No kidding.
Not like metal fab, like rolling
Yeah.
mills. Like we're
Yeah.
casting
Yeah.
a big piece of metal in the ground and we're rolling it out. Yeah.
Yeah. Those giant banded rolls that go out on trucks, right?
Yeah. Have you seen
Really cool
those?
stuff. Yeah, I love
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
they're very, they're a lot of their customer base is in automotive or aerospace,
Sure.
but even, what also I think comes for granted, we take for granted, but cans.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that
So
makes
there's
total sense.
yeah, there's a big rolling mill up in Russellville, Kentucky. And they have
Okay.
some of the highest tech in their plant. Like you go in and it's really cool.
Yeah.
Um, but everything is ran out of pulpits that are, up in the air.
Yeah.
And everything is, there's screens everywhere
Okay.
and things like that. And that's the operator's job. It's not like, I'm going in and I'm putting a part in and,
Yep.
stamping a part or whatever. Um, but their biggest customer is Anheuser-Busch.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Isn't that
I
cool?
like that a lot.
Isn't that cool? Yeah, we like we like that beer.
Yeah, we like beer. Um, so I mean, would you consider them small to medium sized rolling mills, right? Or are they large organizations? How big are they typically?
They're not large organizations. I mean, they're not like when you start thinking about like a larger organization like that, you're thinking about like Nucor,
Yep.
Reynolds is a big
Wrexham can I think of, right?
uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're smaller companies.
Got it. Okay.
And I that's where my heart is for the smaller companies.
Sure.
And small to mid-size.
Yeah. Got it.
Yeah.
Um,
And startups. I love working. Oh man. It's so awesome. It's like the biggest adrenaline rush for me. Just working a
absolutely.
startup. Yeah.
I'd agree. I love working with small to medium size, right? Um, I love early stage startup size. What I've really realized I dislike and I'm not good at is recruiting, right? I can hire somebody, but I have one client and that I did recruiting for, and it was the most painful experience that I have personally ever gone through. Like, wanted to smash my face against the wall multiple times.
What happened? What was painful? What didn't you
It's just,
like?
well, and I'm not a recruiter, right? So I was trying to
No.
take the experience that I've had in my past in hiring people in various roles that I've been in and translate that into recruiting for somebody else. And what I found was that doesn't work, at least for me, right? The skill set that I had being a hiring manager or, spearheading a hiring project does not translate into being a recruiter per se, right? So some of
Yeah.
the pain points for me were, sorting through 600 resumes to find 20 that were actually good fits,
What you
right?
needed. Yeah.
To then start having initial conversations, to then start whittling that down into that smaller list, that short list to send to my client, right? That to me
Yeah.
was one of the most painful
It's not my favorite
processes.
part.
Really?
I mean, the sourcing isn't always my favorite part. Like the actual sourcing, like list building and sourcing and spending a large amount of time researching the role. There's a
Yeah.
lot of research that goes into the sourcing process that I don't think is super obvious to a lot of people. But you research hours. What is the product? Where is this company in the global market? And then it goes down. You start kind of at that macro level, and then you kind of go down through that job description, and you're pulling out very specific pieces. Like, okay,
Okay.
or are we looking for an electrical engineer? If so, is it a power engineer? Is it industrial automation controls?
Right.
And then trying to whittle that down that further, like, okay, so what are we integrated with at the plant floor level? Are we running Siemens or are we running Rockwell? Okay, it's just a constant like checking the box. So that takes a lot of time. That's not necessarily my favorite part about it, but I
Yeah.
absolutely love the screening part is my favorite. As soon as I find somebody with that information, I'm like, let me hit that sale. I'm like, let me hit that cell. And I call them and
Yeah.
I'm like, yes. I'm like, hey, you
I
want to talk to me?
and that part's not as bad. It's the finding those 20, right? It's whittling your way through, and maybe that's where my skill set was lacking, right? And maybe that's where uh, is that sourcing aspect, that research aspect, right? Because what I did with this client, and obviously I did not do it well, we redefined some values so that we were able to adequately find somebody who met those values, right? Who was aligned with those values. We rewrote the job description, which was great, but then it was okay. Let's put it on Indeed. Let's put it on these other platforms, and then you get people who are, you know, you're looking for a programmer with 15 years experience, or let's say this one was
Yeah.
a
Yeah,
programmer
that's
5 years experience, and I was getting people from Taco Bell that were applying for the job, right? And so
you get that.
try
Yeah.
so
That
trying to
happens.
whittle through those 550 some odd resumes and people interested in one programmer job, um,
Well,
to get to that list that you start actually having the calls.
have you ever used Boolean?
Nope.
Have you ever used Boolean strings, like search strings?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
Boolean. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So Boolean is amazing, and I don't. It is so underrated because
Yeah.
you can use it on anything. You can. I have used Boolean search strings on Amazon.
Really?
I want your audience to know. Yes, and it works.
Okay. I like
But
it.
you can put together these search strings, and they work on LinkedIn. Though, although not as well as they used to. They used to be quite great on LinkedIn, but now the search has optimized a lot better. So
Okay.
kudos to the platform
Yeah, yeah.
for improving that. But they work on Google, and you can run a little site command too with it, and then you can find, you can site command LinkedIn on Google,
Yeah.
and then you can do your list building from there.
I love it. I
Yeah,
love it.
does that
Um
help?
It does help, but
Okay.
as we were talking before we hit the record button here, I'm just going to use you from now on.
Oh,
So,
okay.
the client who's listening, if you're listening, I'm not going to say your name, but this is who's going to help us moving forward. Okay. So
I'm here for you.
thank you so much. You all heard it here first. Ann and I are partnering up. So, and we, for 20 years or so, we've talked about the skills gap in manufacturing, right? It's something that we've been aware of for a long time because it's really a generational thing, right? It's the baby boomers are retiring. There aren't enough Gen Xers population wise, but also that went through skilled trades training. Same with some of the older millennials. We're doing a better job now with young people as they're coming up through high school. I was at Skills USA state leadership competition yesterday
I love
in
that.
Arizona. And so we're doing a much better job engaging young people in the skilled trades. How do you approach filling the skills gap, right? How does Ann Wyatt help companies bridge this gap?
That's a good question. So in kind of some of the advocacy I do, I mean, that's a huge part of Workforce 4.0. I, Jim, I'll tell you, when I was working for the state, I mean, this was not something that we didn't try to address back in 2012. I mean, as
Right.
early as 2012. Because we already had that data. I mean, there's not, we knew that there was a finite timeline for
Yep.
the older generation, and we knew where we were. And back then it was just kind of like, it was like, oh, it'll be fine. It was like that dog meme.
Yeah.
This is fine.
It's
And
all fine.
everything's on
Everything's fine.
fire.
Yeah.
Um,
Dumpster fire in the background. Yeah.
but and a lot of the companies that we worked with, I mean, they really stepped up. But between the years of 2012 and 2015, I mean, we had rolled out Sky Fame, if you're familiar with Fame. It was
Yeah.
an amazing program.
Yep.
We had built up our on the job training um curriculum through the area development district there. They had taken really great steps on that, and but we're still kind of doing that, right? We're still trying to
Yeah.
advocate for that, and we're trying to also implement all this new technology,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Because you've got, I mean, we're both going to automate, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So when we get to automate, we're going to see all the toys, right? We're going to see, last year there
So
was a
excited.
Fanic robot flipping a Corvette.
I love that. Or what?
I mean,
I've
it
seen it
was
a couple of times. Yeah. That thing's amazing.
it's crazy, right?
Yeah.
I actually got a beer served to me with a Yasakawa robot.
I love it.
Yeah. So we're doing all of this major capital investment
Right.
for companies, especially larger organizations and things like
Yep.
that. And we're really leveraging this idea that our workforce, we are so kind of not behind on training, but we're not really where we want to be at this time.
Sure.
And that the deficit is so great that we're going to supplement some of this with technology. Well, the
Yep.
problem is that, you have these corporations that go and they buy all of these major um pieces of technology. They're very big capital investments.
Yep.
And we're still struggling with training. So trying to now advocate, I'm going to land the plane here, I promise.
No,
Trying
I
to
love it.
now advocate for short-term training, for identifying transferable skill sets from other
Mhm.
industries, and trying to develop some, other process to also help out with your 4-year degrees, your 2-year degrees, things like that. So
Yeah.
I think that's kind of where we are, but through short-term training and identifying transferable skills outside of our industry and just having that more adaptable mindset,
Yeah.
we can make even more gains with
I
that.
love it.
Yeah.
And I want to get back to some of those points in a moment, mainly transferable skills. So if I don't touch on that, let's talk about that here shortly. Um, One of the things that stands out to me, and Chris and I have talked about it on his podcast. You and I think, may have even talked about it when we recorded on yours, right?
Yeah.
Is this concept of the automation culture paradox within manufacturing, right? And if we
Yeah,
didn't talk about this, then let's talk about
we
it
did.
now.
But
Um,
let's do that. Yes.
yeah, because
Yes.
this concept about, yeah, we are losing people at astronomical speeds. I think that we may, due to inflation and certain things, may not lose people as quickly because I think people are going to have to work a little bit longer, right? So the baby boomer generation may not be able to retire as quickly as we had
I think they're
projected
moving the
them.
retirement age. Did you hear that?
I did. I did. I think it's
I'm
wild.
yeah.
I wild. And we'll dive into that here in a
I'm
minute.
like
Let's
I'm
talk about
like,
the
yeah, I want that's I want to complain about that, but then I'm like, I'm not retiring. And you're
by the
so
time it's
funny.
time for us, man, there's not a chance. Um
Ever retiring. I
Especially
wouldn't
because,
anyway. Like I
yeah,
work like I'm
we're
I'm a
self-employed.
workaholic. Yeah.
Yeah. But let's talk about the automation culture paradox that exists in manufacturing, right? So this paradox is one that says a lot of manufacturing companies who need automation the most are not culturally built or set up to
Mm,
receive automation within their facility, right?
mhm.
So how do we approach that? Because that's a super important dynamic, because not everybody can throw automation into their facilities. Not everybody can use machine tending robots on their CNC machines. Not everybody can automate their processes, not because the capabilities aren't there, but because they're not culturally built internally as an organization to accept it. What do you
Yeah.
think about that concept?
Yeah, that's something that we fought a lot. It is
Yeah,
something that I used to, I'm not going to lie to you. I mean, that was a concern
sure.
of automation and robots are taking our jobs. Um, that type of mentality. And then also, not again, the training
Yeah,
aspect of it, but leading those conversations I think is key. And really I think most manufacturing ops folks are data driven. And I think that the more data that we can produce that subsequently suggests that, hey, what we're doing is not taking our jobs, but it's giving us more meaningful work, as I like to say, um, then that's going to increase buy-in across the board.
sure.
And then if we can throw in some HR metrics with it, like hiring metrics, recruiting, retention metrics, then we can almost like we can combine those things and
Yeah,
say, okay, you know what? This is the best decision for our company.
yeah.
you know? But
I do.
I think data is a big deal.
Tell us more about that. How can we leverage data, and what kind of data, in your estimation, in your experience, is the best to help manufacturers measure where they are with their workforce?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Thank you for asking. I mean, there's different types of HR metrics. In recruiting, I'm obviously more focused on the recruitment metrics, right? So, there's a lot of points in my process where I'm always touching base. There's high touch.
Yeah.
This is a high touch job, right?
Yes.
So, you're always doing things like interviewing in between the interviews.
Hmm.
You're always taking those extra steps and asking, okay, so how'd it go? What'd you think? You're providing a solid candidate experience when you do that.
Yeah.
And that candidate is going to feel more confident about, either making that jump from where they are or considering your opening in a more concrete nature, right?
Yeah.
It's also going to prevent fall offs.
Got it.
Are you familiar with that term?
No.
Okay. So a fall off is when you get really into the process, right? And you come back and it's like they've gone to the interview. And it's why feedback is super critical at that point
Yeah.
from the client or from the company. That they've gone to the interview and the company takes a little bit maybe getting the feedback out. And then they do that and they're like, oh, we really liked that guy or gal. We want them as a part of our organization. And like, I love that. That's my favorite, right?
Yeah.
But maybe it's been some time and the you call them up and you're like, got this offer letter for you. And you are trying to navigate to the negotiation stage, right?
Yeah.
And then the candidate's like, I mean, that's great, but I've already accepted a position somewhere else.
Got it.
So at that point in the process, that's a fall off. So the first thing I like to do when I'm talking to companies, and if they're having recruitment, they're struggling with their recruitment, is I ask
Yeah.
them about where in the process they're struggling. Is it sourcing the candidates, like what we were talking about with the beginning, and finding the candidates,
Yeah.
or is it further on in the process where they're making the offers and the candidates are saying, I've found something else.
Hmm.
And then using that data that's collected along the way
Got it.
to provide a better candidate experience. So that's a
Yeah, because
big
that's
part
all
of it.
part of the employee experience, right? I mean,
Mhm.
literally, the employee experience stretches from the first, pardon me, the first time they see a job posting to the day that they do their exit interview, right? That's the employee experience continuum. But a lot of people don't think about that early stages of the employee experience.
Yeah, no. I don't think they do. And then also I like to capture data that is provided by the company.
Got it.
So I have a proprietary evaluation that I use, but
Okay.
it's for that purpose of collecting all of the information relative to the company
Yeah.
and to the job description. And then I will use that to create a candidate assessment. And then as I'm screening, I'm going through this candidate assessment and I'm providing candidates that I know for a fact, based on the information that the company is giving me, that they are the best candidates for the role. And everything is weighted. It's on a weighted scale.
Yeah.
And I like to use that data to support, um, hiring decisions like that.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. So you did talk about transferable skills. I work with veterans organizations and
Mhm.
organizations that work with previous incarcerated people, to help bridge that gap in different communities where it's appropriate. But I think there's larger groups with transferable skills out there that manufacturers could be targeting as industries in those Boolean searches, etc. What
Hmm.
are some of those industries that you have found have the most transferable skills into the manufacturing industry?
Into the manufacturing industry? That's a great question. The obvious answer is tech, I think, but tech is very wage wise is very inflated. So,
Sure.
um, so that's we run into problems, right, when we get into
Yeah.
like salary and things like that. But to me, that's a very obvious answer is tech.
Sure.
Another obvious answer to me is and it honestly, it depends on the role. So
Okay.
if you're sourcing a technical role like
Yeah.
that, like what I would normally source for, it is hard to find transferable skills
I'm sure.
because you want a degree
Yeah.
engineer, right?
Right.
But if you're looking at like sales roles,
Yep.
um, the service industry, I think
Got
is
it.
a great transferable skill
Restaurants,
set.
hotels, things of
Yes.
that nature. Got it.
Yes.
Okay.
They have because they're going to have those customer
Yeah.
skill sets, the soft skill sets that
Yep.
sales would require.
What
Um,
about machinists? What about fabricators, welders? I mean, what are some industries that we could be looking at? And I ask this because I was, like I said, at the skills competition yesterday, and there was a woman from the mining industry, and
mhm.
she said, they have the same workforce problems, right? In mining, the construction industry association was there. She has the same issues, with workforce in that industry. So we've got a lot of these skilled trades industries that have the same issues. Where could we look outside of skilled trades, mid-career people that are maybe looking to not fight that rat race anymore?
Mining is an excellent, I'm from Kentucky.
Right.
Mining is an excellent example of that. And we've been very successful in Kentucky. We were very successful in
Okay.
transitioning a lot of, and there's still programs that do that. Economy is one of those, by the way.
Okay.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Excellent what they're doing. But that was very successful there.
Yeah.
I think if you look at some of the automotive industries that are service retail industries,
Hmm.
I think are good
Okay.
potentials.
That's a good idea.
Um, yeah, for machinists and welders and things like that.
Yeah.
I think that what else? What other industries are good? Now I'm gonna go through a whole thing, but it's construction.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, construction would be a very good um industry actually to pull from
Yeah.
on that. Yeah,
Well, and uh, you and I both have met. I work with Peter Costa. I think you've had Peter
I
on
love
your.
Peter.
Yeah, Peter's wonderful.
Yes.
Peter has created this technology that can literally take somebody. It's meant for upskilling current employees, right, within your facility.
Mhm.
You can take somebody in a warehousing or logistics type role and get them manufacturing ready in a period of time. But it's also meant for, if you're at your favorite restaurant and you know somebody there that you think fits your company's values, you can hire somebody
It's
who
like a
has
referral. Yeah.
zero manufacturing experience and literally get them manufacturing ready. Peter said the shortest journey that somebody's been on is 4 weeks, and they got his entire continuum done in 4 weeks, right? Can you imagine having the ability to be to help fill some of those jobs within your facility? You're not talking programmers, you're not talking conversational machinists, but somebody to push a green button on a machine, somebody to
Yeah.
assemble something on your floor, right? To
Yeah.
get somebody ready to be on your floor within as little as 4 weeks, that's pretty astronomical if you ask me.
I think it's really amazing what Peter's doing.
Yeah.
I really like what he's doing with ball too. And no, it is. It's a really short turnaround. I mean, before we were really proud at 6 weeks, right?
Right.
I mean, in all honesty, we were really proud at 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So 4 weeks is even better.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think that's and 6 weeks was with the experience. I should add
Right.
that.
This is taking
So
somebody who's been flipping burgers or dunking fries at Burger King and getting them ready to be on your line somewhere. I mean, that's astronomical.
I think it's the power of technology, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hence why I'm talking to you about it. Workforce 4.0.
Yeah.
And let's switch gears a little bit, because you do talk about and advocate for the continuous improvement of company culture, right?
Yes.
I love culture, hence the name Manufacturing Culture Podcast, right? We've talked a lot on this show. You and I have talked offline. My view of culture, boiled down in its most simplistic form, is that culture is the alignment of values between an organization and its employees, right? To me, that's the easiest way
Mhm.
that you can kind of simplify culture. Am I off base in that, in your experience, in your, you know,
No, I don't think
yeah,
so.
experience?
I don't think so. I mean, I think there are just certain things that a company will innately prioritize from its conception,
Sure.
and then those are those things. And I think, I think if you can um build a strong culture from the start is easier and better, but that's often not the case, or perhaps the organization has grown so large that they can't maintain
Sure.
that original concept of what their culture was. So I think
Yeah.
it's super important, when you're reestablishing a culture, or if you're talking about culture change at all, um, it's got to be top level.
Yeah.
It's
Absolutely.
got to be, your entire executive staff, your C-suite. It starts there, and then
Yeah.
from the bottom, right? And it has to be that middle management has to be a part of that equation.
Yeah.
And you have to just have this open conversation about it.
Yeah.
You know?
So how, without giving away any of the Ann Wyatt secret sauce, how do you help clients that you work with, organizations that you work with, cultivate the culture that fits them, right? One of the things I've learned over the course of the last 3 years is that what may be a healthy culture to me may be totally toxic to Anne, and vice versa, right? Like, culture is very individualistic based on the organization. It's not a one size fits all. Company A could be super toxic to me, but it fits values that other people have. How do you help organizations identify what their culture is, and cultivate the best culture that they can have?
Sure. Yeah. I think, you've really got to, and I'll be honest, I do this some for Allie. I don't know
Okay.
if you knew that. Um,
No.
but Allie and I, so we're like very aligned anyway. I mean, like we intrinsically are like, we value work-life balance. We value
Yeah.
flexibility. Allie is really big on hiring uh moms, working moms
Yeah.
and single moms. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, that's in her core vision. Like, this is,
That's
I
awesome.
really want to do something. I really want to hire, you know, um, single moms,
I
working
love
moms.
that.
So to do that comes with flexibility, right?
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm the poster child for that. So owning that in a way that's like, yeah, we're going to do this, and this is how we make it work, right? Where we're still
Uh-huh.
meeting deadlines.
Yeah.
Um, it's just been a process, and then kind of just talking through these things, and kind of having these conversations where it's like, okay, we tried this, let's try this.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah. But just
All right. I
having
love it.
conversations and leading those conversations and identifying those core things that make your organization you,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Perfect. That's awesome. Um, 2 questions left, my friend. Uh, what's your vision for the future of talent acquisition, company culture, etc. within manufacturing?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think I was kind of talking to I was talking to Megan, I think, about this. Um, but last night I thought about this, because I am philosophical and deep. So so I spend my Thursday evenings thinking about
I love it.
things. I would really like to see the manufacturing industry not only embrace more technology, but really value your people the way that you value that capital investment on your floor.
Say it louder
Because
for the
you're,
people in back, because that was
yeah,
awesome.
yeah, because
That was a
your
quote of the
capital
episode.
investment, your capital investment is your people. They are driving your business forward. It's not, I love the robots. I do. I think they're awesome.
Yeah.
That's not really how your product's made.
Nope. Not at all.
And we have to, if we want to succeed in change in this industry and we want to be serious
Yeah.
about recruiting and we want to be serious about retention. See, now I'm on my mom's
Yeah.
soapbox. If we want to be serious about these things,
Is this your mom voice?
see, this is my mom voice.
I love it.
I don't use this voice often. I try to be like cool. I'm a cool mom.
You are
But
the cool mom. But
I'm a
yes.
cool mom. But yeah, no, I mean, in all seriousness, if we want to be serious about these things, and if we want to be serious about changing the industry, and if we want to be serious about hiring quality candidates, and we want to be
Yep.
serious about keeping them at our company, value them more than you value that capital investment sitting on your floor.
That's great. I love it. And what haven't I asked you that you want to share with the audience today? What are some truth or knowledge bombs beyond what you just said? Because that was amazing, and we can leave it at that if you want. Or
Stop
what haven't
pointing
I
at
asked
your
you?
employees. While we're on it,
Stop
stop
pointing
pointing
at
at
your
us. Yeah, it's
employees.
not trying to pitch them right now, but like Seki, because we both know Mike White. They
Yep. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. I couldn't agree more. Don't single out employees. I love it. I love it. And thank you so much for being on today. I love this conversation. I think we need to do a part 2, where I'd love to dig in more to that the continuum of the employee experience with you. Right? We kind of touched briefly on it today, but we didn't talk about onboarding. We didn't talk about performance management. We didn't talk about some of the other touch points throughout that employee experience, and those are some touch points that not a whole lot of our industry talks about. So I'd love to have you on for a part 2 and talk more specifically about employee experience if you're up for it. I know you will, but I just had to ask. Thank you so much for being on, and I appreciate you. Oh, thank you very much. Well, folks, that's a wrap on today's electrifying episode of the Manufacturing Culture Podcast. A huge thank you to our incredible guest, Miss Ann Wyatt, for sharing her insights and experiences in revolutionizing talent acquisition in the manufacturing industry. We talked about a lot of different things. Ann's dedicated to helping bridge the talent gap. Absolutely embraces technology. She lets robots serve her beers, but she really is here to help manufacturers foster meaningful work for their employees, and that to me is really inspiring. If you enjoyed today's conversation and want to explore the world of manufacturing and culture further, visit our website at the manufacturingculturepodcast.com. You can also connect with us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat for more inspiring stories, tips, and industry updates. Now, I have a massive favor to ask all of you. If you found today's episode if you found value in the episode, please share it with your friends, your colleagues, your grandma, anyone who's passionate. What's that? Yes. Yes. 5 stars. Absolutely. It rockets us up platforms. More people find us. And really, what it does is it helps us bring more content to your ear and eyeballs, right? So, thank you all very much for tuning in. Until next time, keep pushing the boundaries of manufacturing and creating cultures of innovation and excellence. Until next time, have a great day and keep making things.